Hardik, we cannot hear you, I guess.
नहीं तो तू
Okay, how about now?
Yes, now I can hear you. Wonderful. Thank you,
Hello,
Hardik.
everybody. Yeah, no problem. I was just experimenting few things with my iPad, so
I can understand. Just let's wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, then we can
no
start.
problem. Perfect. Sounds good. Are you guys all working from office?
Yes.
Yes, everyone
Yeah.
works from the office.
Yeah.
We have Christy with us. Hi, Christy. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good.
Hi,
Thank you.
Christy.
So
Christy,
we
we're
waiting
just
for-
waiting. We are just waiting for a couple of minutes more. Anyone joining from your side, Christy?
I thought there was going to be a couple other people besides myself, yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I will message Lydia real quick and just ask her because it looks like there was a bunch of people she invited.
Okay. Yep.
If you wanted to get started, I think the one girl that was going to join was Alyssa, and she knows what she's doing in auto review. So
Okay. Okay. So Hardik, yes, we can start.
yes,
All right. Absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna share my. So I just wanted to confirm, like, are any of you guys already using it, or is it going to be the first time? So accordingly, I can kind of get into detail.
It's the first time.
Okay.
It will be first time, yeah.
Okay, fine. No problem. Just a second. All right, so I'm just gonna share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can
Yes,
see
we can
it.
see it.
All right, so before we dive into this app, let me just give you an overall idea as to what Auto Review does, right? So Auto Review is an intelligent cleanup tool. What it does is that it connects with your accounting file, like QuickBooks N0, and based on hundreds of parameters, it's gonna find the errors within seconds, right? So being an accountant, when we review, we really don't know where the problems are. So what happens is that we end up going into, I mean, everywhere. Like we kind of end up checking everything, and then we try to figure out the errors, right? Versus Auto Review is a platform that automatically finds all those errors and makes it easier for us to resolve those errors, right? So instead of checking everything now, we have exceptional things to look into, right? So that way it gets so easier for us to look, I mean, to work on those errors and quickly resolve them. So one thing is definitely it's gonna save us time because now it's gonna be readily available, right? Second thing is that it defines the systematic approach, so everyone follows the same method. So imagine if one person is not available today, and if someone else have to do the work on that particular client, it's not like it's gonna be big deal, but it's gonna be easy because now it's a system that even like finds all those errors for you, right? So it's not gonna be that difficult, because it's not gonna be people dependent anymore, right? So that's another thing. It's a real-time review. What I mean by real-time review is that you don't need to wait for month or quarter or year to end to start your review process, right? What's now going to happen here is that the moment you log into your QuickBooks file, Autoreview start working in the background, and it's going to address the error right there and then, right? So it also makes it easier for us to fix those errors, right? So without accumulating all those errors for the month or quarter or year rather, you can fix them right here and right then. So basically it allows us to have the books as accurate as we can on a real-time basis. Make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Perfect. And feel free to interrupt, just in case, if you, I mean, while explaining, in case if you guys have got some sort of questions. All right. So this is the first screen that you're gonna see after logging into Autoreview. The URL goes like this. It's gonna be accounts.zenet.com, right? And once you are into Autoreview, you're gonna land on a screen called Practice Dashboard, right? This is where you will be seeing all your clients. Now, obviously, for the first time, you will need to add the client, which in your case, the clients are already added, right? So, but it's very easy. You can simply connect your QuickBooks file and you are kind of good to go. Next step is to assign the clients, right? So let's say this is first time we are implementing it, and if we need to then create the user and assign the clients, what we need to do, click on this gear icon, and then you will see a user management, and this is where you can invite the new user. And at the time of inviting the new user, you will also see an option to decide that, okay, I want to assign this many clients to this user, right? So that way, that's the second step of creating the user and assigning them the client file. Once that's done, the third thing is to actually start the review process. Now what happens now here is that you click on this auto review icon, which takes you to that particular client file. Now one thing I wanted to actually go back and just wanted to confirm. So this practice dashboard becomes one screen where you can find the status of all your clients, right? So here you can see that, okay, this is a client that I have been assigned to. This is a month in progress, the progress percentage, what is the last month finalized. So this becomes one dashboard that gives you statistics of where does each client stands, right? So at any point of time, like if you want to quickly figure out the status of each client, you can find it from here. And then when you click on this auto review icon, you will now land on that particular client's screen. All right, so once we are into that particular client, we need to first of all decide what period that we want to review, right? So here you have different options, like you can review on a monthly basis, you can review on a quarterly basis, you can review on annual basis, right? So depending upon your need, you can decide. So it's pretty easy. Like let's say if I wanted to review January to March, I would just simply select like this. If I want to select the whole year, I would just select Jan and then click on December. It's going to select the whole range. So it's pretty simple, right? In this particular case, I'm just going to select July to September, for example, and then I'll click on run. Once you do that, we need to click on start review process, right? Now, this is how the app understands that whenever you are about to start the review of any particular period, you need to click on the start review, and that's how auto review will understand that you are about to begin a review for this particular period, and accordingly you will be able to track it as well. So this is gonna be first step to start the review process. Once you've done that, you will see here in process, I'll kind of show you how exactly it's gonna look like. Once you've started the review process, you will see end review, which means right now the review is in process. All right, and then as you can see, this left panel, as you can see, like all of those review points in here are the ones that require attention, right? So instead of you going and looking for all of those errors, right, all of those errors are already identified by Autoreview, and one by one we need to go through each of them. All right, makes sense, guys, so far? I just want to make sure that I'm not going too fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So now one by one we go through each of those points. Okay, the first one says uncategorized entries. Now even in your clients you might be using accounts like uncategorized entry, or accounts like ask my accountant, uncategorized expenses, right? So some of those accounts, whatever accounts that you use, those accounts transactions will show up here. So as an accountant, our goal is to make sure we reclassify all of these transactions to appropriate accounts, right? So that should be one of our goals. Now what we can do, I can see there are 4 transactions, and if I know the answer that okay, hey, this should go to office expense, I'm going to double click on it. I can make the changes, and the changes also gets updated back to the QuickBooks file. Make sense? All right. So this is how you can edit the transaction. Now let's say, for the sake of example, let's say if there was Amazon written in here, right? And you want to find out that, okay, where does Amazon transactions are code and code generally, right? So you can also use this search here. You could say, okay, Amazon, right? All you have to just type in Amazon, that's it. You don't even have to define what you are looking for. And once you click on those, any of the value, it's going to immediately get you the transaction. So just a second, I just selected another one. All right, so it's just going to get you the transaction for Amazon. It's going to tell you office supplies. You can close it back to the screen. So that way, unlike QuickBooks, when you need to search something, when you try to search something, it's going to override your screen. So you will be kind of go away from the screen that you're working on, and the search is going to take place on your monitor. So all this search is pretty easy. You can search anything, like you can search the vendor name, account name, anything, right? It's going to immediately get you the transaction. You can take the reference and you can make the changes, right? So the goal is to reclassify all these transactions to appropriate accounts, and then this right now this is a 4 transactions which eventually gets 0, and once it gets 0, we need to do this sign off, right? What this sign off means is that sign off means basically it keeps track of who has reviewed. So it turns into green, and this progress bar gets increased. So eventually, as we sign off each of those review points, we reach 200%. And when we reach 200%, that means that the numbers are accurate. That means that we are good to go with this client, right? So that's how the review process works. Make sense about the workflow, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So then you move to the next one that says entry posted to parent account. Now you must be familiar that in QuickBooks you can have a parent accounts and you can have a sub accounts, right? So just in case, if there are transactions recorded to parent accounts instead of sub accounts, it's gonna show up here. So the good example is utilities, right? So let's say under utilities you got sub accounts like gas or electric or telephone or things like that. So when there are transactions recorded to utilities instead of sub accounts, it's gonna show up here, right? So what we need to do, we need to reclassify these transactions to any of the sub account. Now you could also do bulk reclassification. So as I can see, there are 72 transactions, right? And let's say if I see some of these transactions should go to one account, I could actually select multiple transactions, and you see this panel coming up from the top. This is where you can do bulk changes. Like I could say, okay, all these transactions should go to guest account, for example. And when you do save, it's gonna reclassify all these transactions to that particular account, right? So you can change the account, you can change the class, location, customer job, even name as well, right? So these are the different things that you can do. All right, that's that. Now there are certain common things that you're gonna find across all your clients. So for example, each of this report has got some sort of configuration. So when you click on this config icon, you will be able to decide if you want to exclude any of the accounts, right? So let's say there is an account called utilities, right? And you say that, okay, no, I'm all okay, I'm all fine recording transactions to this account. You can exclude that account, right? And when you exclude that account transaction will no longer appear as a error for you, right? So you can see the account has been updated. So you should use this exclude account only when you say that, okay, no, this is a parent account and I'm all fine recording transactions to this account, so that you can exclude them. And when you exclude them, those accounts will not show up into this particular report. Make sense?
And just to note on that, for our integrity people, the seniors on your account would probably want to give the go-ahead before you make any configuration changes. But you can go ahead and ask them and just make sure, like, hey, are you okay with us using this parent account instead of the sub account? And we'll just say, yeah, go ahead and change the configuration on there. But yeah, just wanted to note that.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay, and Hardik, one more question that whenever we are excluding any kind of account from here, it will be applicable for all future reports, or it is just for this particular month?
No, so this is basically applied to that particular client. So it's not driven by the period, right? So wherever you go, so like for example, right now I am reviewing Jan to December. So what happens is that if I move to the January 2022, it's gonna apply the same setting. So that particular setting configuration is at the client level, which has nothing to do with what period that you're reviewing.
Okay,
And which is also nothing to do with any other clients. It is just done specifically for that particular client only.
got it.
So basically, I guess senior accountant can make a exclusion for the accounts, right? I mean, once they confirm like this account don't need to review, then we can set it those account, and then we can review for the remaining accounts, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, it's pretty flexible enough for you guys to decide how you want to configure, right? But yes, you're right. I mean, from your internal hierarchy perspective, you guys can decide that, okay, senior accountant can decide that, okay, this is how it needs to be done, then that's how it needs to be configured. All right. So, okay, I'm just gonna move to the next one. Entries without class, location. So pretty straightforward. These two reports will only gonna show up if you have at all enabled it, right? So if you have a client where you are not using class or location at all, this is not gonna show up, right? However, if you are using class and location, this is gonna show up then. So something similar applies here. Like when you click on configure, you will have an option to decide, like, if class, for example, if you're not tracking it for specific accounts, you can also exclude it here. So same concept that you can do. All right. Now there are few things that you're gonna find same across wherever you go. So one thing is that you can switch the order of the column. Very simple, just like Excel. Like you can do just like this, right? I mean, however you want to move, you can move it. If you want to sort something, you can also do it like sort. When you click on the column name, it's also gonna sort it accordingly. If you want, right now it's grouped by account, but let's say you also wanted to further group by name, you just do drag and drop. Now you can see it by name. You can do expand all. So it's like pretty flexible table. I mean, you will see a similar experience just like Excel. And let's say if you wanted to see some more columns, or if you wanted to hide some more columns, when you click on these three horizontal lines, you'll see an options, like different options in here, like, okay, I really don't want to see this particular column for class or location, and you can enable and disable them, right? So these are some of the common features that you're going to find across all the reports, right? Now, if you want to search anything from this report, let's say you just wanted to see capital 1 transaction, you can also type in here capital 1. So you're only going to find all the capital 1 transaction here. So this is a universal search where you can type in anything from the table and it's going to find it. Okay, so you can also use that. If you want to export it into Excel, you can also export it into Excel. So these are some of the common things that you can find. Now, you will see on a hover of any transaction, you will see 3 options. The first one is for the bulk selection. So the moment you select any of the transaction, it's going to open up the top panel, right? And let's say you have 10 transactions that you want to do some changes. First of all, you select all of those 10 just like this, and then you can make changes and then hit save. So whatever changes that you make will apply to all those 10 transactions, right? And if you want to exit from it, just hit on the close and you are back to normal. Now, the third icon which we have is an eye icon, right? What this eye icon does is that it directly takes us to the QuickBooks file, and it's gonna open up that particular transaction, right? So obviously you can open this transaction in here itself. Like if I wanted to open this transaction in here, I can open this transaction right inside the auto review. However, for whatever reason, let's say you wanted to open this transaction into the QuickBooks, this eye icon will take you there. So if I click on this eye icon, right, it's gonna open a new tab. It's gonna open the QuickBooks file, and you need to be signed in first of all to that particular client. So let's say, for example, if I'm just signing in, all right, let me just click again. So if I click on this eye icon, it directly takes me to that particular transaction inside QuickBooks, just like this. Okay, so that's eye icon is a shortcut. Now there is one more icon in between, which is a sign off. Now what this sign off is, so let's say if there are any transaction that is reported as a unusual transaction or abnormal transaction by auto review. However, as per you, it's all fine. I mean, you don't need to do any action on that. However, you want to get rid of it, right? So how do you do that? So this sign off, when you do sign off, see right now it's 1311 is the number. But when you do sign off, that means you are confirming that this transaction is all fine and there is no action to be taken. And this number eventually gets reduced, right? So as I mentioned, if the transaction is reported by auto review, if it is wrong, then you take the action. And when you take the action, like let's say if the account was wrong or class was missing, you assign the class and then the transaction will anyway disappear from the report. However, the transaction is still there, but you're okay with not having a class assigned to that, you use this sign off and it's going to disappear, right? And if you want to see those transactions back, which are the ones that you signed off, then you can click on this include sign off transaction and it's going to show up just like this. Make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
fine.
when we just click on that, those signed off transaction will be coming under list.
Yeah, and those, the ones that have been signed off will show the green tick just like this. And if you want to undo it, you can do undo like this. Same button again. Click on it. This same button. It's gonna undo it.
Okay.
But you guys understand when to use that, right? So
Mhm.
the example I told you is that, let's say this particular transaction, it says entries without class, right? So if you assign the class here, right? Let's say if I assign the class, you can double click on assign the class. It's anyway gonna disappear from this report. However, if there are transactions where you're all okay not having a class, then you use this sign off, right? You just saw it disappeared. So with the sign off, you are accepting that I'm okay not having a class, and that particular transaction will disappear. All right, so far so good. And any question? Okay, so as we move forward, as we resolve all of those things, we need to do this sign off report. And when we do sign off report, this percentage gets increased, right? So one by one, we go through each of these points. Some of these points are pretty straightforward, right? I'm just gonna uh, jump on this one. And by the way, each of this report has got some sort of information. So let's say you're working on something and you need some more information. You click on this info icon and there is a brief description, but when you click on learn more, we do have a detailed article which actually mentions like, okay, entries without name. We also have it in a video. So even after this training, just in case if you need any sort of help, you can click on that info icon, which directly takes you to our detailed knowledge base, which has got more details like even the videos as well. So that can also help. All right. So we have a duplicate names as well. So see, this is generally we may not pay attention to on a regular basis because this generally does not impact our finances. Like it's not gonna impact our profit and loss or profit. I mean, at the end, it's a name that is duplicate. However, it's very much important to clean them, right? So as you can see, there are identical names like Uber versus Uber, Blade Title Company versus Blade Title Company, right? So all these things needs to be taken care. Now you cannot merge them here because the API does not allow us to do that. However, this eye icon, right? You can use that and that takes you to the QuickBooks file and where you can merge it. So what you should do is that, okay, let's say you say this Blade Title Company is the right one. The first one is the right vendor. So you basically want to merge this. So you click on this eye icon, it takes you to the QuickBooks file, open up that particular vendor and you change the name and just keep the same name as the first one. It's going to ask you to merge and you are all done, right? So that is all you need to do. Make sense, guys? So we are into this vendor now. I'm just going to edit, right? I'm just going to keep the same name as the other one. And when I hit the save, it's going to ask me that, okay, do you want to merge it? And we merge it, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind, whenever you make any changes in the QuickBooks file, you just have to press this sync button, right? So if you are making any changes in Autoreview, you don't need to press this sync button because we already know that you made some changes. So we automatically push changes to QuickBooks. However, if you are making any changes in QuickBooks, we wouldn't really know when exactly you are making the changes, right? So you need to press this sync button so that it can bring the latest changes. It's just gonna take few seconds, right? So when you do quick sync, it's just gonna take few seconds to bring those changes back to Autoreview and it's done. Make sense, guys? Okay.
Yeah.
And I will just say from a internal summit perspective, it is important for us to have the vendor names be correct because for our clients that we use cash flow tool on, those names have to be, the transactions have to be coded to the correct name so that it can correctly forecast the future expenses for that vendor. So
you're right.
that's a
Yeah,
good one.
absolutely. So I mean, it's pretty much important that we clean this list, right? So and same concept applies also here. Like let's say you would say this one, like Howell Doris and Howell Don. This is not duplicate, right? You can use this sign off. It's gonna disappear from this report. So as I mentioned, if it is duplicate, you merge it. It's anyway gonna disappear. But if it is not duplicate, you sign off so that you basically kind of it's gonna disappear from the report. All right. So then you got unreconciled entries in here. So unreconciled entries, what we're doing is that we kind of show the flag. So as you guys would know, reconciliation is not just about having that zero difference. I think what is more important is what remains uncleared, right? And there are certain transactions that cannot stay uncleared. So for example, if there are transfer entries, you can expect transfer entries to remain uncleared, right? For a day or so, day or more, right? So if there are any transfer entries I can see which has not been reconciled since few months, it's gonna flag it, right? Likewise, if there are deposits or if there are ACH, right? Some of those transactions cannot remain uncleared for a longer time, right? So those transactions will be flagged, as you can see, and accordingly you need to take appropriate action depending upon, like, if it is transfer, then if it is not the right transaction, you delete it. So basically it is flagging so that you guys can then investigate, okay, what would have happened, right? Make sense?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Now this one is also one of the useful report. I'm just gonna show you. Um, okay. New vendors, new customers, and new GI. So we generally wouldn't know what new vendors have been created in QuickBooks or what new accounts have been created, right? So this is the best way to review them. I would use this report in couple of ways. One, I would see that, okay, these are the new vendors created. So this gives me an opportunity to find out, okay, whether these vendors look genuine or not, right? Because we have seen that at times people may not pay attention to the credit card charges, and I mean, at times you may find the fraudulent transactions, or you may find those vendors which you haven't actually dealt with, right? So this gives you an opportunity, first of all, to see which new vendors are created, whether those vendors are genuine or not. And second, you can also see how exactly it has been coded, right? So imagine if I'm a reviewer, right, and if my accountant has coded it to some wrong account, I can see it here. So I can see Verizon has been coded to dues and subscription, which is not right, right? I mean, it should generally be posted to telephone. So things like this can be caught here, because if I don't catch it and if I don't fix it right here, my junior bookkeeper is gonna follow the same code even in the future. So it's gonna use the same GL, dues and subscription, even in the future. So it's very much important to quickly have a look at those new vendors and see how exactly it has been coded, right? Same thing is for the customers, and same thing is for the GL as well. Now creating new accounts, it's not like a every month activity, right? I mean, you don't create an account every now and then, right? Chart of account is something that you set up, I mean, once and for all, and then as and when you need, like you buy a fixed asset or things like that, you create it. So it is also important to see if there are any new accounts created, then you review it, right? Whether there is a need for this account or not. My personal experience said that, I mean, especially with the junior guy, it happened that if they don't find something, they would just go ahead and create a new account, right? So not each and every expense require a separate account. I mean, at times you decide that, okay, this expense, put it to office expense or put it to this expense, right? So this also gives you an opportunity to review what new accounts are created into the system. Make sense, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So now this one is also a good one. Review vendor list, customer list, and GL list. Now this is one more other area where we don't generally pay attention to, because this does not impact our numbers. So what this list tells you is that, okay, this is the list of all the vendors with the last entry date and the balance, right? So I can see there are many of the vendors which haven't been used for a while, right? But these are still active in your QuickBooks file. So what you can do, I can see, okay, there are many of these. I'm just gonna select multiple of them. I'm gonna make them inactive, right? So this will help me make sure that I will have a clean and accurate vendor list in my QuickBooks file. All right. You can do the same thing for your customers. You can do same thing for your accounts as well. So this is a very useful way to clean your vendor, customers, and account list. Make sense? All right. Now this one is pretty great one. So what we're doing here is that this is where we take all your expenses and put them into meaningful summary. So imagine, like, when we are reviewing, let's say, profit and loss, what happens is that we don't know where the problems are, right? So when we go into a new account, let's say I click on repair and maintenance, I would see long list of transactions, and then I'll try to find out the different errors, right? And then I will go to another account and third account and fourth account. So that process is cumbersome and complex. So what we are doing here is that we take all your expenses, put them into a summarized version, right? So this, all transactions are summarized by a vendor first, and then underneath it's an account, and it's very easy to review now. So I can see that, okay, this is a vendor, this is how it has been posted to, and these are the amounts by month, right? So not only I can find out if there is a misclassification of the account, but I can also find out if there's an amount missing or if there's any inconsistency in the amount, right? So the good example here is that, okay, same CPA is the vendor. I can see generally I have been paying them $400 for the accounting. I can see it, right? However, in one of the month, someone recorded to a new account, which is a bookkeeping phase. Now, this is where you will see a flag which is applied automatically by Autoreview. So what Autoreview does in the backend is that if it finds anything abnormal of the trend, it's gonna flag it, right? So in this case, most of the months have been coded to accounting, but in one of the month it was coded to bookkeeping phase, and that is why you see a flag there, right? Likewise, most of the months have got 400 amount, but in one of the month it got 500, right? So you see the flag as well. So you need to basically fix those flags. Now, in this particular case, if it's wrong account use, you can click on this 550. It's gonna open that transaction, like all those transaction, and then you can make the changes right there. So I can just make account. I can just select the accounting professional, and then it's gonna disappear from that report. However, if you say that, okay, no, this account is fine, I mean, I don't need to make any changes, you click on that flag and you can say add this GL to configuration. What this means is that in future, if there are transactions recorded to this account, will not be flagged. Okay, so this is how you can basically deal with the flag. But this is the best way of reviewing all your expenses within minutes, right? Because as I mentioned, not only you can find out the consistency between the accounts that you used, but also between the amounts. Or like here it's a best example, you are like every month there is an entry for Slack, but in this case it's missing, so you see the flag there. So basically from the consistency perspective, it's gonna help you. And there are some quick filters at the top, like you can only see, okay, show me all the misclassification, show me where the amount is inconsistent, show me where there are mismatch in the entries, right? So things like this you can basically do it. So it's the summarized version, but whenever you click on any of the amount, you can see the transaction details as well. So I mean, it's pretty kind of handy. It's just a matter of scrolling it down. You're not like jumping between the reports, you're only going in when you find the issues. Otherwise it's like I'm just gonna review it like this, just scrolling it down, and I can easily finish my expense review within few minutes. All right.
I do have one question. I mean,
Yeah.
did we get a that eye icon from here if you want to review that particular expense, just like the other one, as you mentioned?
So eye icon
It will
is
go
generally
for the-
placed. Eye icon is generally placed at the transaction level. Now in this screen, we are not looking at transactions. We are just looking at the high level summary, right? However, when you click on any of these amount, then you're gonna see the list of transactions, and then you're gonna see the eye icon. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
Okay. So eye icon is generally placed where the transactions are there. This is just a summary, right? So that's how you need to see it.
Got it.
So far I just wanted to ask you, like, what, like, whatever you guys have been doing until now and whatever you have seen so far, what do you think, is it, I mean, are these the same points that you've been reviewing? Are there any additional points in here, or what's your take so far? Whoever is reviewing right now, I mean, would just love to know, I mean, what do you think?
I would say at one or other way we were seeing these things, we were reviewing these things, but by other means or by other reports and looking at different things. But I think by looking at this auto review system, it may be easy to just see the things and get the all kind of exceptional or abnormalities. So I think in that way it can help a lot.
Yeah, I think, and that's the right point, Nikunj, because you're right. You might be checking all of those points, but grouping them at one point, like we just kind of group them, and it's all on the face, right? We don't need to go anywhere and look for all of those points. It's just right there, and we can also, it's visible also. So, I mean, as you fix it, you also can keep track of count as well. So that way, yes, it's gonna be definitely easier for us to find out, okay, where do we stand in terms of resolving them. So
Yes, agreed.
all right, so then until here, okay, one more point. I mean, all of those review points we give you guys default, but let's say you say that, okay, there are certain things I not applicable for my client. You can click on this menu, click on configure, and unassign them. Like, let's say you could say, I really don't care about this one, right? So you can also enable and disable, and again, same thing. This will apply to this particular client only, not all the clients, right? So, okay, then we have this search view here. See, until here, review expenses, what happens is that everything comes default, like we give you everything. However, if there are any points that is specific to your client, right? So example is, okay, I would say, okay, show me transactions in fixed asset that are more than, sorry, that are less than $2,000, right? Now I may want to review them, and I may decide to put them to expense because these are lower than the threshold limit, right? Likewise, I could say, show me transactions in office expense or repair and maintenance that are more than $2,000 because I may decide to put them to fixed asset, right? Or I could say, show me transactions in equity, for example, because I mean, there are certain accounts where you don't expect frequent transactions. For example, equity is not something every now and then you might be posting the transactions. Or if you have a security deposit in your balance sheet, you don't kind of deal with security deposit transactions every now and then. So if there are such transactions like this, review points like this, you can create your custom review points. You can click on this add. You can build your custom criteria. So you can apply multiple criterias, and when you are done with it, you can save this search, give a name to it, and when you save it, it becomes part of your workflow here, right? So the advantage here is that, first of all, you don't need to remember all of those points, right? It's a one time. Once you've created it, it's gonna stay right there, right? So next month it's gonna be very easy because, for example, let's say if I created a search call, fixed asset transactions less than $2,000, let's say, and if it is 0, that saves me time straightforward because now I'm not gonna go into fixed asset account, not gonna look for any transaction because I can easily see it now. So that way it's gonna be very handy. So if there are any review points, specific review points that you have it for your clients, you should create them here once and for all, and then it becomes part of your workflow. All right. So this is the saved search views. All right. So these are some of the things I just wanted to cover. I mean, we do have some reports at the end, but now I also wanted to show you that, see, last week itself, we kind of,
Hardik,
please.
just one thing. Can you just repeat that? How can we create that search?
Sure. So let's say if I'm into this saved search and I can click on this add, and I can apply multiple criteria. So let's say if I wanted to create a search for fixed asset, I could say, okay, fixed asset transactions, equipment, land, office equipment, truck, vehicles, warehouse, furniture, and I could say, show me transaction amount less than $2,500, for example, and I could say FA transaction less than $2,500. Okay, I could save it. Now what happens is that, see, this becomes part of my workflow now, correct? Now I can easily see it, there are no transactions in there. So That way it's gonna save my time. So if I move to the next one, let's say if I kind of now reviewing October to December, for example, I'm not gonna first of all need to remember it. I don't need to go and look for it. If there is anything, like let's say if there is anything, then I'm just gonna find it here. Simple. Make sense?
Got it.
Okay, that's it. All right, so now one thing I wanted to show you guys is that this is how auto review is generally used, but we have actually recently uh, um, launched our browser extension, which actually gonna make the whole experience very easy, right? So now what's gonna happen here is that whenever you go into QuickBooks, right? So let's say if I go to, oh sorry, if I go to QuickBooks, right? And if I go to any of the client, let's say if I go to the unicorn client, auto review will follow me. So auto review starts working in the background, right? So you see this panel coming here. So the moment you log into any of the QuickBooks client, you're gonna find this panel, right? And what it means is that now you don't need to log into auto review separately, right? Imagine every day you log into QuickBooks file, you just spend few minutes, okay, find out what are the flags, you click on it, and now you can see the whole auto review inside your QuickBooks file, right? You don't need to go anywhere. And if you see that, okay, there are 5 duplicate entries, why would you wait? I mean, you should just fix it right there and then. So our goal is to make sure that we have the accurate numbers on the go, like on a real time basis, literally real time, right? You don't need to wait for a month or quarter or year for that reason. As you see the numbers, you fix it right there. If you see duplicate vendors, fix it right there. If you see duplicate entries, fix it right there, right? So that way, imagine if you are doing it, let's say you spend 10-15 minutes every day, you don't have to do as such anything when the month ends, right? Because you've already taken care of all the errors, right? So you might be spending few minutes here and there and you're all set. So that way you don't first of all feel that pressure of month end or quarter end, because now you are resolving them on a regular basis. So that's one thing that I would recommend, that all of you guys should install this extension, and I'll kind of show you how you do that. You see this Zenet icon here. When you click on this Zenet icon, it's gonna take you to the Chrome web store. You add this to your Chrome browser. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now whenever you go to QuickBooks file, you're gonna find this flag and you can basically start working on it. So that's one thing that we have done in here. Next thing we have also done is that let's say whenever you go to any of the reports, right? And when you are, let's say, in a profit and loss, you click on this account office supplies, right? Now in this particular case, what's gonna happen is that, so you see the flag here. Now even we highlight QuickBooks transactions with the flags also. So you don't need to actually run after any of the errors. In fact, all those errors follow you wherever you go. And if there are any transactions, right, that have been identified by auto review as a erroneous transaction, you're gonna find the flag. And when you put your mouse on those flag, you're gonna find out that, okay, hey, this transaction is missing the class, location, job, or posted to parent account, right? So if you see a flag, then you should just simply open the transaction, fix it right there and then, right? So that's another way that you're also going to be notified as to the erroneous transaction as well. And we also have attachment icon here. So let's say in this, the third transaction has got attachment. You don't need to open the transaction to look for that attachment. Click on that attachment. It's gonna open the attachment right here, right? Without actually going into that transaction, correct? So that's also gonna be available. And even when you open the transaction, you will also be able to see the flag also right inside it. So that's another thing that you can find it. So there are some cool features that we are in fact coming up with. One more thing, I'm just gonna, we don't have it yet, but I'm just gonna give you a heads up as to what it is coming. Let's say I'm recording a transaction in here, expense, right? See, until now, if you look at it, Autoreview has only been identifying the errors that have already occurred. So it's like a reactive approach. Errors have already happened and then Autoreview is identifying. Where we are heading towards is that we in fact want to prevent the errors from occurring. So imagine like, and this is what is actually coming up in next week. So what will happen is that I'm recording the transactions to Verizon. I'm putting it to, let's say, office supplies. Now I have not saved these transactions. So Autoreview will start flagging you that, okay, hey, this Verizon transaction is generally be coded to telephone, not to the office supplies. Or it would say that, hey, this Verizon transaction should be assigned a class or location or things like this. So even at the time of entering transaction, in the backend Autoreview is running, and if you are missing out on something, it's gonna flag it right there and then. So our goal is to in fact prevent the mistakes, right? So that's where we are heading. So that's another thing that is coming up. One more thing which is coming up is that, one second. So see, and this feature we have it right now inside Autoreview, but that's also going to be available on profit and loss. So in Autoreview, whenever you are looking at profit and loss, whenever you put your mouse on any of the amount, you're going to find the quick comparison. So comparison between the previous month, previous year same month, 6 month average, 3 months average. So that you don't need to calculate anything. You don't even have to calculate the variance or anything. It's just gonna be right available, right? You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to jump between the reports or enable so many columns. So the same experience we also gonna bringing up even in the QuickBooks here. So imagine if you, right now it does not have it, but it's coming up next week. But I'm just giving you heads up that when you onto profit and loss, and if you are putting your mouse on any of the amount, it's gonna get you the comparison right there. So the profit and loss review, it's also gonna be a lot easier, because now imagine, otherwise what you would need to do, you would need to click on that, okay, I want to see this column or that column kind of thing, right? So that way, like this way, I want to see previous period, I want to see previous period, I also wanted to change. I mean, it's just gonna be so many columns, right? So that way it's gonna be a lot easier. So that's another thing that we are coming up with. So all I would recommend, the best way to use Autoreview is that you guys all should install this Zanet Autoreview extension for your browser. And once you have installed into your browser, you then don't need to go anywhere. Right inside your QuickBooks file, you can enjoy, when you click on the flag, you can enjoy the whole Autoreview. And just like I just showed you, even within the QuickBooks, you're gonna start seeing the flags as well, right? So your goal should be that, okay, every day you need to keep an eye on this flag, and if you find something new, you just resolve it right there and then. All right, so I'm just gonna take a pause. I'm just gonna invite anyone and everyone, in case if you guys have any questions about workflow or understanding any of the features, feel free to ask. And would also love to know the feedback. I mean, in case if like, if there are any specific things that you are reviewing right now, but you want to find out how exactly it needs to be done in Autoreview. So any of the questions that you guys have, so feel free to bring it up. Anyone?
Those new features are really awesome. Thanks for showing us that and giving the sneak preview.
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
no problem. I mean, there are many more coming up in next few weeks. So, I mean, we will keep you updated for sure. Anyone else, guys? Nikunj or Shriyal, I know you guys have been asking, but other guys like.
No, I think whatever you have said is much clearer, and it's really amazing for the purpose of review. So it's going to help a lot.
Perfect. No problem. And like, just in case if you guys come across even any questions afterwards, so you guys can directly call us. I mean, we are local, so anyway you can call us directly, or just leave a questions even in the Slack as well. So our team can also respond you there as well. So
Sure.
all right. Anything else that you want me to cover? Like in case if you guys are checking anything in specific and you want to learn how it needs to be done in auto review or anything like that, then also let me know.
Sure.
We'll definitely
All
get
right.
in touch. I mean, yeah, if we find any query or if we want to learn something new, tricks in auto review.
Please. Yeah, no problem. But as I mentioned, once you guys have made that habit, like of checking those flags every day basis, I can tell you, you guys will feel a lot more relief, during the month end or quarter end or whatever that you guys follow, because it's more a real time thing, right? And it's always good to have accurate numbers on the go. So
Definitely, auto review seems like it will expand our horizon for self review, and definitely it
exactly.
will benefit our clients.
And when you say self review, this also reminded me, because if there is a second person who is doing a second eye, I mean, it's also useful for that person, because imagine, Surreal, you reviewed everything, right? If I go
Yeah,
here and if I see that, okay, it's all zero, like uncategorized zero, entries without class zero, duplicate zero. So that also gives me peace of mind, and I don't need to spend my time, which is more critical in case as being a reviewer, right? So that
yeah.
way it's also gonna give me confidence, right? So that way it can also help.
Sometimes it's also give us a scary moment, like everything is zero. What is happening? But yeah, it is good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always, as I mentioned, our goal eventually is to have all the zeros, and that is why we are kind of coming up with that proactive approach. We kind of constantly figuring out how to stop the errors, right? So that
Yeah,
way we are kind of now heading towards.
sure.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
no
Sure.
problem. Thank
Can
you
you send
guys.
us this recording so we can share it with anyone who wasn't able to attend?
Yes, Alyssa, everything has been recorded, so I'll share it with Lydia once I get the YouTube version of this, and I'll share it with you with the link.
Great, thank you.
Thank
And
you, Hardik.
Alicia, just in case if you guys, I know that you guys are presenting something, but just in case if you guys need to touch base with me on any of these things, feel free to let me know. We'll be more than happy to jump on a separate session as well. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
all right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
all
you.
right,
you.
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Hey everyone.